Hi, my name is Abby and I'm from the Dalles Wasco County Public Library, and I'm going to teach you how to make a Hobbit themed candle holder. This is for our take and make for April, and these are the supplies that you will get in your kit. You will get the glass jar, and we're not going to use the lid for now, so we're going to set that aside somewhere safe and then set our jar up here. We'll come back to it later. You'll receive a jar or a little bottle of 100% acetone. This is my big bottle. This just happens to be what I have on hand. You'll receive a little container of Mod Podge. You will get a little bottle in yours, a small container of sand, a cotton ball. If you use your cotton ball up and you need another one, tissue paper, toilet paper, anything you have around the house is fine if you don't have a cotton ball. A cheapo dollar store spoon. You don't want to use a spoon that you're going to eat with again. A brush for putting on the Mod Podge. Inside this file folder, which we will use again, so do not discard the file folder, you will find tissue paper, and you will have lots of extras in case you mess up. So tissue paper, your prints. Again, we've given you 4 prints in case something goes wrong. This is a laser print. It is not inkjet. That is an important distinction. You need to use inkjet, or you need to use laser, not inkjet, if something goes wrong. So I'm going to set this aside for now. This is your tinfoil, and I'm sorry it's loud and crinkly. This is to help protect your work surface. So I'm just going to lay this out here and make sure that it's nice and flat here, and that we are nice and flat. Now I'm going to try to avoid some of the wrinkles that I've created here and kind of use this side of the space. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my tissue paper down here, and we're going to put it face down here like this so the wrinkles are just a little less likely to carry through. And then you're going to put your print face down on your tissue paper. And the tissue paper is about the same size as your print, and that is totally fine. Now you don't need to tape or secure this because you will have, it will kind of stick down as we proceed. So I'm going to take my cotton ball and my acetone, and I'm going to carefully, now this is one thing that's important with acetone, keep the acetone on your workspace. I'm going to dab it here just so it's not quite so thick when I put it on, because you don't want to drown it. You just want to have a little bit on there. And we're going to burnish it. Now you do not need to press hard to burnish it at all. You do not need to press hard. It is totally fine to just lightly hit it. The most important part of this is that you want to hit everything. And thankfully, the laser ink kind of starts to show through. So you know where you've already hit. And you just want to make sure that you get it a lot. Now I'm doing lines and swirls. And as the acetone starts to dry out a little bit, you can move on. That's when you know it's time to move on. Now, you want to make sure that you get your details good. I have writing down here at the bottom, and I have a dragon up here, and I have dwarves right there. So these are spots that I want to make sure that I burnish very well. Now, as you can see, it does not take very long to do. Okay, so this is the hardest part of the whole piece, and that is peeling the tissue paper off without ripping it. Because now that it's stuck, it kind of wants to stick there. We're gonna gently peel it off. And if you find that it's sticking anywhere and you're not comfortable with that, hit it with a little bit more acetone, give it another quick burnish, and then it is much easier to peel off. And if you see that if there's any spots you missed like that, hit it with a little bit more acetone and give it a good burnish. And it just wants to stick then. Although this one's being a little cranky on me right here. I don't think I hit it good enough the first time. There we go. You just do that. Like I said, this can be the trickiest part in the whole thing, is trying to get this off. This is why we gave you a couple of them, to make it a little bit easier on you, so you have a little bit of leeway if something went wrong and doesn't quite show up the way you want it to, or you rip your paper. Now, it's okay to rip it a little bit. It actually isn't going to create too many problems if you do. Because we're going to be Mod Podging this, the whole thing, it will actually be able to lay down again as long as we get all the paper off. I do not like how this looks, so I'm going to hit it again here. This is just being cranky right here. Now it is important, I think you've probably already noticed by now, it is important when you have to apply more acetone that you make sure you get that spot burnished again. Because otherwise it tends to want to go right back down. You want to be very careful when you get to the end here. If you hold the paper right close to where you're trying to peel off, it's much less likely to rip. All right, so I have a pretty nice image here. Like I said, this is the most important part down here, so it's important that you get this clear, and this is a little bit more flexible. So the next step is to give it a little trim. So you do need scissors. And I'm just going to trim it right here along the bottom. It doesn't need to be perfect. All right, see, it does not need to be perfect. Okay. So now, we're going to put it on here. And we're going to move it up a little bit. And it is okay that we don't 100% reach the back there. That's totally fine. So what we want to do is, this is a little bit of a tricky part here with the Mod Podge, but you can squirt it onto your work surface. That is totally fine. I'm just going to use my handy dandy little jar here. And I'm going to get everything lined up about where I want it. And my first step is going to be to put just a little line of Mod Podge here along this. And we're going to let it dry for just, as you're doing this, it just kind of gets a little sticky. And we don't want it too wet when we put this first piece down. We just kind of want to be able to move it a little bit. See how I can kind of slide it a little bit? So I make sure that I'm all lined up around the edges, like that. And then now I'm going to push this down. And this lid just snaps right on. It doesn't screw, so there's no front and back. You don't need to worry about where your lid goes. Now we're going to Mod Podge this on down here. And now we're going to peel this up, and we're going to put a little bit more Mod Podge on like this. We're going to lay it down, and we're going to put more on, pushing it this way. And you just want to kind of push out as you go. And you'll kind of feel when you get as far as your Mod Podge goes. And put another line on, and you're going to push it down. And a little bit more Mod Podge. And you can push out the wrinkles, but the wrinkles give it a little bit of character and make it look aged. They make it look like vellum. So we're going to keep going like this until we get all around the cup. Try not to do what I just did and get it on the bottom quite yet. We will be doing that a little bit later. One of the things that you can do that I did not do before we get started, but can help it stick a little bit better, is to take your acetone and your cotton ball and wipe your jar off before you put your Mod Podge on. It can kind of help it stick a little bit better. All right, so we've gotten to that side. Now I'm going to kind of go, your tissue paper is going to be pretty wet here, and so it will get a little, you will rip it if you get too crazy manipulating it, but we do want to try to make sure that we don't have any places that are really solid up and down vertical lines. Now we're going to just do the same thing to the other side here. Oops, on the bottom. Oops, and you want to make sure that you don't do what I just did and lay it down on the Mod Podge that's still wet. You might be really disappointed. I'm going to roll it over here so I can make sure that my paper doesn't touch. You can see that I just got a little ahead of myself there, but it doesn't matter a whole lot. Oops, did it again. It's much harder, as you can see on the other side, to make sure that that doesn't touch. If it does touch, it isn't quite that big of a deal. You just want to make sure you get it off before the Mod Podge dries, and you want to be gentle when you do it. The last of it here. Get it brushed down. So you have a little wrinkle here, all you have to do is just brush it down. Nice coating over the top here. And again, we're just gonna go back here and make sure that we don't have any good solid lines. Vertical lines like this or horizontal lines on your piece are just fine. What we don't want is to see any lines where it's really obvious where we laid down the Mod Podge. All right, so now is kind of a fun part. I'm gonna take this, we're gonna move our tissue paper off. We're going to take our file folder, we're gonna set it down in the middle of our workspace, like this. And we're going to take our sand and we're going to get our sand ready. We're just going to open it up like this. I have a nice chunk in my sand. I don't think it'll matter a whole lot. And I'm going to take the Mod Podge and I'm just going to do a quick run around, making sure everything's down really well and that I've got glue the whole way around. Now we do not want, when we do this next part, we don't want to cover up our words, so we have to be kind of careful when we do that. You can put more Mod Podge on your words, but you don't want to put any sand on your words. So I've got all the way around now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sand and I'm just going to gently sprinkle it right around the bottom. Do this on your file folder to catch your sand. And that makes it a little less messy in your house. Give it a good tap. Now, if you want a precise line across here, the way to do that would be to let your Mod Podge dry completely and then put a little piece of painter's tape around, Mod Podge again, and then put your sand down. I wanted a very rustic look for my candle, so I did it that way. Now this side is a little trickier, especially if your paint is wet. But again, you just want to go lightly around the top. Again, I'm going to want it very rustic looking here. So I'm making sure I got everything tucked in. And if you want a nice neat edge on there, you are welcome to take your scissors along the top or an X-Acto knife when you're all done. So again, if my paint was dry, or my glue was dry, I'd grab the other end. So I'm going to try not to make a huge mess here. Oh, I got a little bit of a dry spot. If you end up with a dry spot, just take it right here and dab it in and around, and then hit it again. Looks like I've got a few spots that dried up. So what I'll do is I'll let it dry, and then I will layer it again on top. You probably saw all the spots I missed before I even did it. Probably thinking, what is this lady doing? She's missing stuff. So when you're done, I'm gonna give it a good tap here. It's not gonna look that great until the Mod Podge dries and everything dries. And I would recommend doing another layer of sand, but oh no, you're out of sand. And that's where the file folder comes in. What you're gonna do is you're going to pick up the file folder and let the sand all fall to the middle. And you're gonna put this here. And you're gonna let the file folder, let the sand run back in. And then you're ready to go when it's time to put another layer of sand along the top and the bottom. And that's it, you're ready to go. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I can't wait to see your finished projects.